First experience would have been when our first son was a baby, and lots of things went on when he was little, but eventually he was diagnosed with a condition called communicating hydrocephalus, which basically means he had excess fluid on the brain. It's the condition that they check for when everybody goes into the health clinic with their babies and they measure their head circumference. Essentially, children with hydrocephalus, the head circumference expands because the fluid inside their brain, inside their skull, is building up, and before the bones in the skull fuse, their heads just literally get bigger. So as mums, when we go to the clinic and they measure babies' head circumferences, that's the main condition that they're looking for. My first son, Jai, when he was 2 months old, his head circumference had been in the 50th percentile at birth, went to the 75th percentile at 2 months, and was off the scale by 4 months. So this little bubby had a head about an adult size at 4 months of age. But he was happy and bright, was vomiting, but we thought it was reflux, and in hindsight it was raised pressure in his brain. So that was the start of our journey. He ended up being shunted, which is where they do a surgical procedure where they pass a drain through the skull and into the ventricles in the brain, and they drain the excess fluid away. Our situation, we've got the 2 little boys with the same condition. We were told it was a one-off thing and would never ever happen again. And our second son is an instant replay of his older brother. So we went through it twice. And yeah, he's only 6. He's had 3 lots of neurosurgery, same as his brother. I don't know if you can explain how you feel when it's your baby. You know, you're devastated, you don't know, because you're dealing with the brain. You know, we were given everything from worst case scenario, intellectual retardation, up to normal development. And of course, when it's your precious baby, it's pretty hard. You know, you're handing them over for neurosurgery, you know they're going to be in intensive care afterwards with an unknown outcome. So, yeah, very, very traumatic. Basically, until you've got that baby back in your arms, in intensive care, you know, that's the hardest for me, and it's happened multiple times since, but I'm at my lowest point until I get them back, because I think I can cope with anything in life, but just never let me lose either of them. And, you know, every surgery comes with its risks. This particular form of neurosurgery comes with about a 30% risk rate of different things, but there's a 20% risk of infection, which is meningitis with all of its associated complications. There's a 5% risk they'll have a stroke on the table, 5% risk that they'll become epileptic from it, and a 1% mortality rate. So, and each time they have the surgery, you've got to sign all the forms acknowledging that you realise these are the risk rates. But what do? There's not really any choices. Yeah, you do what you've got to do. He had a minor bleed last year where the tubing to his brain got stuck and they couldn't get it out, and it was blocked, and when they finally did manage to get it out, it pulled some brain tissue out with it and caused a bit of a brain bleed. So I was a bit worrying there for a while of whether he'd had a stroke or not, and because he just, yeah, he's our little professor. He knows it all and he analyses everything, and yeah, sits there discussing the 70 functions of the liver with the intensive care nurses, and he's a real little character. A lot of people ask that, but you have no choice. They're your kids, you know? I mean, life goes on. You can't wrap them up in cotton wool. They've got to have the chance to be little boys and to get out there and do what they can and live life to the best. There's no cure for this condition, it's treatment. So it's something that's with them for life, and it's something that can happen any day. That's really hard. You know, if it was okay, well, we do this and this will fix it, or we do this and hopefully this will fix it, that'd be fantastic. But, you know, neurosurgery's come so far, but there's only so much they can do with shunts to help the kids. They're what it's all about. They've got to still have a childhood, and without money they can't do research to come up with the solutions to try and fix some of these problems. And there's so many different things that can happen to kids. You're just so lucky if you happen to have one that isn't affected by any of it. But yeah, sadly, chances are everybody goes through traumas in their life, and yeah, you just want to help the kids.